On today's show, 5 things that have to happen in order for the Suns to make the playoffs. Can you finally trust Mat Ishbia? And who is the most important Sun in 2025? Let's talk about that and much more on this edition of Locked On Phoenix Suns.
You are Locked On Suns, your daily Phoenix Suns podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up and welcome back into Locked On Phoenix Suns. My name is Benjamin Garcia, host of the Ben Garcia Show mornings on YouTube, as well as a credentialed Suns media member. Thanks for making Locked On Suns your first listen here on this beautiful Wednesday. Don't forget Locked On Suns is free and available on all platforms, including YouTube. So click that follow or subscribe button to do it. Thousands, dare I say millions, dare I say trillions of Suns fans have already done it. Become an everyday and get locked onto the Phoenix Suns here each and every day. This episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNBA at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. I am so fired up to be here. I know oftentimes you guys will watch podcasts or listen to a podcast and, oh, it's August. There's not a lot of things going on. There is so much going on when we're talking about the Phoenix Suns. It has been a very jam-packed and busy offseason, and I read the comments section. Sometimes it's great, sometimes it's bad. I like both of it. Honestly, sometimes I think even the bad ones are even more constructive than the good ones. And oftentimes I've said things on this show, and I have to preface it with, I'm not trying to make it seem like I dislike this team or I think less of this team or anything like that. I don't want to be the bad guy, but I pride myself on being the bad guy sometimes because I feel like I'm willing to say what everyone else won't say. And oftentimes that comes off as a little negative. But my brand has always been, I will praise this team when it is time to praise them. And you bet your ass I will hold this team accountable when they need to be held accountable. And unfortunately for us, over the past couple of years, this team's needed to be held accountable because the Kevin Durant thing didn't work out. The Bradley Beal thing didn't work out. Mat Ishbia, we're going to talk about in the second segment. Can he finally be trusted? But ultimately, I saw some of the comments, and it was, you're so negative about this team. You don't think this team can make the playoffs. I think that that's better than lying to you. But here's what I will do. I'm more than willing to be wrong. You know, I like, just so we're clear, right? Someone said in the comment section, like, I don't like Jordan Ott. I think I was one of the few people who was more than okay and welcomed the hire because he earned the position of head coach. I do have some skepticisms with Jalen Green and Devin Booker, like I think most Suns fans have. But it got me thinking today when I was, sitting in my little cubicle at work and wishing I was talking to you guys instead of, doing the things I was doing at work. But I came up with the top 5 things that have to happen in order for the Phoenix Suns to make the playoffs. So that you and I, myself and you, the listener, can be on the same page about this team, knowing what has to happen in my qualifications for the team to be in. And so that you understand how difficult it's going to be. Because even if you think the Suns team is going to be better next year, and I do think the Suns will be better next year. I'm sorry, I wanted to pull up the standings. I think the Suns will be better next year. Absolutely, and more fun next year. And I think the latter of those things is even more important because we've lost our way as fans. We've wanted to see this team be more fun. But just to put it in perspective, to get in the playoffs, be the 6th seed, the Suns would have to be 13 games better next year. There is no addition by subtraction. There is no an addition of a singular player the Suns have had this offseason to put them over that mark to win 13 more games next year. It's just likely not happening. But let's say it does. Let's say here's what would have to happen for the Suns to win 13 more games next year and be a team that is the 6th seed next year in the playoffs. Because remember, the playoffs are the 6th seed now, no longer the 7 and 8 seed. Those are play-in teams. But without further ado, here's what would have to happen for the Phoenix Suns to make the playoffs next year. Number 1 is pretty simple. Jalen Green and Devin Booker need to coexist. Devin Booker, I'm not worried about him. He's going to be awesome. He's going to be one of the best twos in the league, and he's going to be he's going to be, in my opinion, someone that competes for, I heard it earlier today, the scoring title, which I would probably agree with. Someone that busts his ass in the regular season and gets this team to the playoffs potentially. I am not worried about Devin Booker. I'm worried about Jalen Green. And I know you can watch all the highlights you want. You could be obsessed with his dunks and his athleticism and his ability to want to play defense. I agree with all that. But he's got to be more efficient. And we've talked about that on numerous occasions. I don't want to talk your ear off about something we've already done a million times before. But that's number one. They have to coexist. Number two, a guy who I find very fondly to my soul, Ryan Dunn, has to make a massive leap. And maybe massive is too, big of a word. He's got to make a sizable leap from year one to year two. What does that look like? We already know he's going to be one of the better defenders in the NBA for years to come. But can he find some semblance of a jump shot? Not just one that when he hits it, you're like, oh man, he hit 2 of 3 tonight. Something that the opposing team, after weeks of scouting and playing the Suns over the last couple of years, they have to say to themselves, we cannot leave that dude open. We can't do it. If we do it, we will get bit in the ass. The Suns have to have a guy in Ryan Dunn who makes a sizable leap in year two. And if they don't have that, I think that is cause for concern on Ryan Dunn's development from years from now. Is he even a playable player in the NBA? Or is he someone like Davion Mitchell, who's a good defender, but for a long time couldn't shoot? He can't be that guy. You can be a good defender, but you have to have some semblance of a jump shot. Does Ryan Dunn go from a net negative on offense to one of the better 3-and-D players in the NBA? So those are two big things already right there. Jalen Green and Devin Booker have to coexist. Green has to be more efficient. Devin Booker and him have to find a way to share the ball and be effective together. Ryan Dunn has to make a sizable leap in year two. Not an all-star player, but not even a Cam Johnson like 3-and-D player or a Mikal Bridges type. But can he be someone that is a fringe all-defensive guy and shoot 35% from three? If he does that, that completely changes the complexion of the Phoenix Suns offense. Because now you have another guy out there that you cannot leave open. Number 3, Jordan Ott can coach. What do I mean by that? I am someone that's actually very high on Jordan Ott. From the people that I've talked to in Cleveland, I have some connections over there. I know someone that obviously covers the team really closely, and Danny Cunningham, who's a close friend of mine. He's talked wildly, positively about Jordan Ott. And I've bought into it. I don't care that I've on record multiple times saying I don't care that he went to Michigan State. I think the dude can coach. I think he's earned this spot. I think he's a hard worker. I think he's a busy bee. I think he can be one of the better coaches in the NBA in the next couple of years. But I can't just say that. It has to actually happen. Jordan Ott has to be able to coach and be a fairly effective coach in year one. And you say, well, Ben, that's obvious. Well, was it? Frank Vogel didn't work out here. Mike Budenholzer didn't work out here. Monty Williams, towards the end, the issue why we got rid of him was the schematics. It wasn't the culture. He was a smart guy. He was a nice guy. But he wasn't great in the X's and O's. Jordan Ott obviously has to build a culture. We talked about that on Sunday or on Monday. But he has to be able to coach. Meaning he has to be able to show up and do the things on the whiteboard and get this team cheap buckets by just scheming up buckets. And the Suns have not had that in like 4 seasons. So that's number 3. Jordan Ott has to be able to coach. Number 4, this is where I'm going to get in some heat. Teams fall out of the playoff picture. Because even with the top 3 things happening, I still think Oklahoma City, Houston, Lakers, Denver, Clippers, and Minnesota are all better. So you have to hope in that top 6, which is, again, the top 6 teams make the playoffs. The 7 through 10 go to a play-in tournament. That is no longer the playoff spot. You have to earn that in a tournament. We're talking about the top 6 spots. The only team that I see that could take a fall out of here, and people are going to say, think I'm crazy, is the Los Angeles Clippers. Because Harden, Kawhi, Bradley Beal, that's the spearhead of that team. Has there ever been 3 guys who are more either emotionally or physically unavailable? This isn't Locked On Clippers, but I am much lower on the Clippers than everyone else is. A lot of flaky guys on that team, a lot of injury-prone players on that team, and they're the oldest team in the NBA in a league that is continuously offensive, younger, faster, twitchier. And another team as well, the Minnesota Timberwolves. They did lose Nickeil Alexander-Walker. They didn't have any key additions. That is a team that I think could fall into the play-in tournament this year. Not because I don't think Anthony Edwards is awesome, but after a while, the core of a team runs its course, kind of similar to that 2021 Suns team. It ran its course and it started to fall off a cliff after that Dallas Mavericks loss. And then finally, number 4. So teams have to fall out for the Suns to be able to leapfrog them. That's pretty obvious. That's why it's lower on this list, but it has to happen. Teams have to fall out for the Suns to get in. And then number 5, we're going to talk about this later in the show, but one rookie has to be able to contribute this season. And I'm not looking at the Suns' first round pick. I think I'm looking at Rasheer Fleming. Rasheer Fleming is a 6'9" player with a 7'2" wingspan, if I'm not mistaken, can shoot the freaking leather out of the basketball, and is someone that I think can contribute right away. And I believe that is really important because I trust 5, 6 players on this team, but can I get a 7th player like Rasheer Fleming, a big body to come in and even play maybe some small ball 5? He's 6'9", so that's not going to happen often. It's a specialty, a novelty that you could do. But someone a little bit Swiss Army knife that can come in and contribute this year. And I look more at Rasheer Fleming because he's closer to his ceiling than someone like Khaman Maluach is. So those 5 things, Green and Booker coexist, Ryan Dunn takes a sizable leap, Jordan Ott can coach, teams fall out, and one rookie contributes this season. If all those things happen, I agree with you. The Suns will be a playoff team. But when I look at those things, it just seems like a lot has to happen this year. It doesn't mean that they can't compete soon. And it doesn't mean they won't be incredibly more fun to watch this year. But it just means set your expectations accordingly. Because what you're asking them to do is kind of a lot. Let's talk about Mat Ishbia now. He went on a show over at PHNX, and I don't have any clips from that show because it was a lot of talk about trust. Can you finally trust Mat Ishbia? Let's talk about that and more next. First, today's show is brought to you by Monarch Money. Most people can't name all of their financial accounts or even what they're worth, whether it's 401ks, properties, or investments. And when you don't have the full picture, you can end up leaving money on the table. That's why there's Monarch Money. It's an all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean, easy-to-use interface on your laptop or your phone. Monarch does the heavy lifting for you. You can link all your accounts in minutes, see clear data, visuals, get smart categorizations of your spending, and finally feel in control of your money without even looking at a spreadsheet. Listen, if you're someone like myself, and one thing that Monarch Money could have helped me with for a long time was I sometimes have a bit of an issue buying more memberships and things like Netflix or PlayStation Plus or whatever it is to Spotify accounts, and I don't even realize that I'm not using them. With Monarch Money, being able to look at all my finances on an app instead of using a spreadsheet would save me gobs of money. So don't let financial opportunities slip through the cracks. Use code LOCKEDONNBA at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off your first year. That's 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com using code LOCKEDONNBA. So this was interesting. Close friend of mine, Greg Esposito over at PHNX Sports, he has this Southwest Bias show. And he had mentioned last week that Mat Ishbia was going to come on the program. And of course, I tuned in. And I didn't think there was like a crazy absorbent amount of things that you're like, oh, that's an eye-popping moment. It was more of like a check-in. But Espo asked him about trust and why the Suns should trust him. And Ishbia spewed out a lot of nonsense, and that's not really what I'm interested in. What I'm more interested in is, regardless of what Mat Ishbia says, and what he said on that show was basically like, we're going to prove it to you. We're not going to say it. We're going to do it. And I'm like, okay, you're going to say it. You're not going to do it. Can you trust Mat Ishbia now to bring a championship home to the Suns? Here's the really fascinating thing with Mat Ishbia. I think he could be an A+ owner in not just the NBA, but all sports. But he still continues to make a few mistakes. There is not one instance, not one, in the NBA, the MLB, the NFL, any major sport, where there is a increasingly meddling owner who thinks that they know best, is always out in front of cameras, is always answering questions, Jerry Jones style, the front-facing, very meddling, front stage and center, right for everyone to see them. There has never been an instance where a owner has done that and that team be successful for not only a really long period of time, but reel off a few championships, 1, 2, in a span of 20 years. So the one thing that concerns me with Mat Ishbia is being one of the smarter guys that he is. And I've went after Ishbia, but I do think he's a smart dude. I don't know how he sees that model with Jerry Jones, or for a long time it was Dan Snyder, or, forgot I think Donald Sterling was kind of like that way too. Robert Sarver wasn't meddling, but he was cheap. I don't know how Ishbia doesn't see the bad owners of the world. And I'm not talking about the terrible things that like Donald Sterling did. I mean like being overly involved, the meddling part of it. So that's what I mean. I'm not trying to go Stephen A. Smith here and say nonsense about Ishbia. That's just not true. But can Mat Ishbia just not be so front-facing? Be someone that has to be in the spotlight, in front, always answering questions. When you think of the Phoenix Suns, you think of Mat Ishbia. When I think of the Spurs, I couldn't even tell you their owner. I think of Popovich. When I think of the Celtics, I think of Brad Stevens. When you think of the Suns right now, you think of Mat Ishbia. And that is a bad way to run a team. So aside from that one thing, which hopefully Ishbia figures out is not the right way to run a team, there's no evidence historically to back that up. But all the other things Ishbia has done, which to his credit has been him being the face of the franchise, so maybe I'm wrong here, is so far so good with Brian Gregory. So far so good with the draft picks. So far so good on being patient and not trying to go after the next big fish in Kuminga or Trae Young unless you could just steal those players. So I think Ishbia is learning from his mistakes. But it's just going to take more time before anyone can decide that they trust you. Once you've been done wrong by the same person in multiple instances, like we have been in Mat Ishbia, he pushed across the Kevin Durant trade and gave up too much. That is indisputable at this point. I still would have traded for Kevin Durant. I just don't know if I would have given up 4 first-round picks and a bunch of pick swaps. Maybe that could have been changed. Same with the Bradley Beal thing. I would have traded for Bradley Beal. I'm not going to act like someone who is Monday morning quarterbacking it and is going to lie to you and say, oh, I thought it was a bad idea. No, I didn't, because they gave Landry Shamet, Chris Paul, and a whole lot of nothing else. However, it probably would have been best to just keep those players. But I don't get in trouble for that. Ishbia does. Him and Bartelstein, they made that happen. And then move on to the past couple of coaches. He's got those wrong too. So I don't trust Mat Ishbia yet. There is a lot of rights that have to happen for it to come around. And this is the caveat of this, guys. If Ishbia ever does figure it out, and I believe he will at some point, he understands that he can't be meddling, that he can't do the Michael Bidwell thing of always being in front and center, or do the Ken Kendrick thing with the Dimebacks and be utterly cheap early and often. if he can do the Mark Cuban thing and put the right people in charge for the jobs, GM, head coach, empower smart people, and then sign check after signing a check after signing a check, that will be the best version of Mat Ishbia. Now he has, to his point, hired, I think, the right general manager right now in Brian Gregory. That could change. But he didn't give Josh Bartlestein the axe. He's still there. And there's just some things to still have to clean up. So although like when Mat Ishbia comes out and he says things like, I've got to earn the trust. Yeah, you're damn right you do. Because right now I don't trust you. I like some of the things you've done. And you've built this bridge between us and fans and you. But we've been wrong before by that bridge. We fall through the cracks. The bridge has snapped. What has to happen now is you have to lay a firm foundation and be someone that has been, put some real sturdy steps on that bridge. And we can't fall through this time. Be mature, hire the right people, don't be meddling, sign checks when you're asked to sign checks. And in a year and a half, if you've been patient and you've done all those things, you will earn our trust back. And just so we're clear, Ishbia is still infinitely better than Robert Sarver. Not just because all the awful things that Robert Sarver allegedly did or did not do, but it looks like after the findings, a lot of it was true. But he's also someone that is willing to write the checks that Robert Sarver would never write. And he's also empowered the Mercury, the employees, and put up new facilities. Like, those are all things Sarver didn't do. So with that being the case, Ishbia can be someone that we could trust again. But it's going to take a lot of months, maybe a season or two, for Suns fans to fully embrace this plan. And a lot of it has to do with him finally being patient. Closing out the show, who is the most important Phoenix Sun in 2025, 2026? The answer may surprise you, but it really shouldn't. Let's talk about that next. Man, these shows fly by. They just absolutely fly by. It is a absolute joy to be here. And, we just got a lot of things to get into. But I've got one more thing for you. Who is the most important Sun in 2025, 2026? Here's why it's not these players. Devin Booker. I know what Devin Booker is. If you think Devin Booker is going to get significantly better in year, I think it's 10, 11, that's a you issue. Devin Booker is already one of the top 15 to top 20 players in the NBA. I think he's 14th, but whatever. Let's just save the rankings for now. He is already an elite caliber player, but he's 28, 29 years old. If you're asking him now to take that leap from top 14 to top 5 player in the NBA, that is a you issue, and your expectations are far too high. Booker is going to be awesome this year. He's going to average 27 points, 6 assists, 4 rebounds on 45, 37, well, probably more like 48, 37, 88 splits. He's going to be a really good player. And he's going to show why he has the ability in the regular season to carry this team. So it's not Devin Booker. I know what I'm getting in Devin Booker. It ain't Jalen Green. Because I think I know what we're getting in Jalen Green this year. And even if Jalen Green and Devin Booker are awesome, if the other 4 things don't happen in my top 5 list for this team to make the playoffs this year, then that doesn't really matter either for the future. Ryan Dunn is important, but he's not as important as this player. I think Khaman Maluach is the most important Sun in 2025, 2026. Maybe the more appropriate or aptly named thing we could give Khaman Maluach is the biggest X factor in 2025. The Phoenix Suns will not be picking in the 10 spot likely for the next couple of seasons. It's just not going to happen. The Suns had one chance to get a premier player in this draft, and I believe that they got him. However, I can believe and do my own scouting and do my own research and do my own, evaluating on the side, and I could think he's going to be great. And in this moment, I could have thought it was a slam dunk draft pick. I was working out while watching the draft, and I almost dropped the weights on me when I saw who the Toronto Raptors picked and the Phoenix Suns had fallen to their lap. I am on record saying I believe he could be a more mobile in terms of a more laterally mobile and quicker Rudy Gobert with the ability to have some sort of a jumper, but live around the rim with way more athleticism than Rudy Gobert has. And he's not going to get there this season. I'm not saying that he needs to be awesome right away. That is unfair to Khaman Maluach, and I think it's just kind of nonsense. But what has to happen this season is Khaman Maluach has to show real promise. He has to be an all-rookie level player. Maybe not first team, but he should make the second team. He has to be on the Rising Stars team. He has to be on the all-rookie, at least second team defense. He has to be that kind of player. It's not me saying, Khaman Maluach, has to be amazing this year. That's ridiculous. But he has to be someone that is getting the accolades or the recognition as a player who is a all-rookie second teamer. And if there was a ballot to be a all-rookie defensive team, obviously it's, not a thing. But if there was an all-rookie ballot defensive second team or like first team, he would have to be that guy. I guess a better way of putting it, instead of just saying it in nonsense terms that are not existent, he has to be one of the better defensive rookies this year because that's his bread and butter. If he was someone who this season shows premier defensive talent as a rookie, that might be enough for you. But because the Suns will never be picking that high again in the next couple of seasons, he has immense pressure on him to show promise that he will be a serviceable but also starter level center in this league, a top half center in this league. We saw what Devin Booker did with someone like DeAndre Ayton, who was a top half center in his time in Phoenix. But Khaman almost has pressure on him to be even better than that someday. Not this year. That's not what I'm doing. I'm not setting unrealistic expectations. But because the Suns will never have a draft pick that high in the next couple of seasons, they have to hit on that one. So if there was this imaginary all defensive rookie list that obviously isn't a thing, he would have to be on it. But he has to be one of the better defensive rookies this year. And then offensively, he has to show that athleticism to catch a lob, dunk it, bring it down, and show that he can compete in this league. As well as show off some of those things that make him special as a big man. When he gets switched on to smaller guards, and I'm not talking about Steph Curry or John Morant, just smaller guards in the NBA, just in general, at a baseline. He shows that that's not a mismatch, that those guys can just get around him. That's not a thing with him. He sticks with them. He shows the promise of being what I believe he can be. A better a more laterally quick and athletic with a chance at having a jump shot later in his career, Rudy Gobert. A better version of Rudy Gobert. That's what he has to be. A future all-defensive NBA player. And this year, a future all-rookie not a future. And this year, an all-rookie NBA player. He has a lot of pressure on him to show the promise, and the Suns have a lot of things riding on him. Because that, regardless of what we're talking about, was the big piece in the Kevin Durant trade, getting that 10 pick. That was massive for the Phoenix Suns. It wasn't Jalen Green, and it wasn't overall at the end of the day Rasheer Fleming or Kobe Brea. It was Khaman Maluach. Because he fell to them, and he is someone that I believe was a top 4 talent in the NBA draft. And the Suns got him. And he has to work out, and that promise has to be showed this year. So that the Suns see this. We have another guy that we can pair with Devin Booker. And we have true young talent. Then you're talking about Rasheer, Kobe Brea, Dunn, Oso, a real core nucleus of young players to make up the next great Phoenix Suns team. And that's what Khaman has to be. And those are the shoes he has to fill. A this year all-rookie level player and a future all-NBA defensive showstopper with elite athleticism around the rim to catch lobs and make life easier offensively. And I believe he can be that guy. Thank you so much for tuning in to Locked On Phoenix Suns on this beautiful Wednesday, or if you're watching it tonight on YouTube, Tuesday night. I appreciate you guys being here each and every day. I believe we're going to have Greg Espacito on the show come Friday, so be excited for that. If you have some questions or a topic suggestion, I'd love to dive into it. Do me a favor, hit that like, share, subscribe, follow button wherever you're listening, wherever you're checking out the show. I appreciate you making us a part of your day. For everyone in the chat, myself, Benjamin Garcia, it's been Locked On Phoenix Suns, and I will talk to you guys on Friday.